Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Epson. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Sharon Acker, Roger Perry, Ben Piazza, Arlene Golanka. Tonight's episode, Bond of Fear.
Well, now, Florence, I don't for the life of me know why anyone would want to spend a fortune restoring this old tomb. Why don't you and Harold just burn it down and build a condominium?
The trouble with you, Edith, is you'd turn Central Park into a parking lot and call it progress.
Florence, I've been wondering how you're going to fit a swimming pool into that space out there by the patio. It looks too small for a pool.
The contractor doesn't think so, Dr. Parker. We'll just have to move things around a little. I'm afraid the garden will have to go.
Pity.
Another drink?
Oh, no, thank you. Where's Harold anyway? Is he working late at the office again?
Not you too, Russ. Half the catty women here have asked the same question.
All right, I'm sorry.
That must be Harold now. Excuse me. You're late. Did you forget we were having guests?
Had a lot of work to catch up on, and I forgot the time.
Don't you think I know what's been going on? Don't you think all our friends and neighbors, everyone in the village knows?
Stop being paranoid, Florence.
So very smug, aren't you? So sure of yourself. If it wasn't for Laurie, I'd have divorced you years ago.
Oh, it's Laurie, is it? It's not this house, or the expensive clothes, or all the rest of the things my money can buy. You're hanging on because of Laurie. You're a damn martyr, aren't you?
You disgust me.
No! Daddy, don't! Please don't hit her. Please?
Laurie may be my stepdaughter, Harold, but I'll do anything a natural mother would do to protect her. Anything.
Go to the devil. And you can take Laurie with you.
Laurie.
I hate him. I wish he was dead. I hate him so much.
No matter what problems your father and I have, remember, he's still your father.
I mean it.
Come on. There's a party, remember? You fix your face, and I'm going to get out of this dress, and I'll meet you downstairs. Everything's going to be all right. I promise.
please. Excuse me, please. Thank you. Excuse me.
Looks like he's dead.
He's dead.
Barnaby?
Hi, Russ.
I got us a table inside the restaurant.
This is the kind of day that makes you want to work up an appetite first. Let's take a walk.
Fine. Thanks for coming, Bart.
All right. The good Lord Almighty didn't make just one Garden of Eden. He kept right on making it. Mighty pretty.
You know, after the way you sounded on the phone, I half expected you to call me back and tell me that you changed your mind about taking the case.
No, I got curious. I began to wonder why Florence Armstrong would want to stir up another investigation of her husband's death.
Well, let me explain something to you. I haven't told her yet that I called you.
Wait a minute. Isn't Florence Armstrong your client? And the coroner's jury absolved her of any guilt in her husband's death?
For lack of evidence. But people hereabouts, they've got it in their heads that Florence is guilty, no matter what the coroner's jury said.
Well, that's nothing unusual. There are always some people who doubt a jury's verdict. But why does her own lawyer doubt it?
I don't. It was an accident. She was in her room changing her dress. She heard Harold scream. She rushed out. She got there just as the body landed at the bottom of the stairs.
Well, if you believe that, and the coroner's jury believes it, why start a new investigation?
For Florence's sake, I guess. Or for mine. See, ever since it happened, she retreated into a shell. For the past 3 weeks, she's refused to see anybody, including me.
That sounds like more than a lawyer-client relationship.
Yeah, you're right. I'm in love with her. If it wasn't for her stepdaughter, Lori, she'd have left Harold a long time ago.
You sure Florence is going to want me hanging around raking over old coals? You may get burned in the process. You sure you want me to do that?
I'm not sure of anything, except that if you can't lay all these doubts and suspicions to rest, I'm afraid I've lost her.
Russ, you've heard of what they say about letting sleeping dogs lie?
That's a chance I'll have to take.
All right. See what I can do.
Thank you.
Anybody home?
You must be Laurie. Hello? Mr. Armstrong home?
When she wants to be.
That's a Petrella Road.
You know the Petrella?
Tried to raise some down in L.A., but I didn't have near the luck you seem to be having.
Well, try rusty nails.
Rusty nail?
Yeah, see, iron. You bury the nails in among the roots, and the iron makes them grow healthy.
Rusty nails. I'll have to remember that.
Russ Madden told me a private detective might be dropping by. That's you, right?
Barnaby Jones.
I'm Eugene. Very nice to meet you.
Did Russ also tell you why I'm here?
Oh, I know what folks are saying about Mrs. Armstrong, if that's what you mean. Malicious gossip, that's what it is. And I sure hope you can put a stop to it, Mr. Jones.
Why do you suppose people are being so malicious? Kind of makes you wonder whether there's any fire under all that smoke.
Oh, I guess there are reasons for people thinking the way they do, but that doesn't mean Mrs. Armstrong did anything about it.
About what?
Oh, Harold and all those women he was playing around with.
Is Armstrong new?
I'm not sure. But this last tramp he was seeing would have been pretty hard to hide, even for Mrs. Armstrong.
How's that?
Well, she lives right here in the village. Nora Frazier, a waitress at the village roadhouse.
Eugene?
Uh-oh. I forgot I was supposed to tell you no visitors allowed. I'm in for it now. Rusty nails.
Laurie? Mind if we have a little talk?
Just wait a minute, Mrs. Armstrong. Since you wouldn't answer my calls, this is as good a place as any to settle our account. Now, you just hold it a minute, Mrs. Armstrong. We're gonna have this out here and now.
Nora, get away from me.
No, we're gonna talk first.
Nora, I'm warning you. You leave me alone.
What? Or you'll kill me like you killed Harold? You won't get away with it. Murderer!
Nora! Would that be Nora Frazier?
Yes.
I'm Barnaby Jones, private investigator. I'm looking into Harold Armstrong's accident.
I guess you could call it an accident if you call World War II an accident.
I gather that's the way you felt. Overheard your conversation with Mrs. Armstrong a few minutes ago. You mind telling me why?
Why don't you ask her, Mr. Jones?
Does she know that you and her husband had been seeing each other?
What business is that of yours?
Well, as I say, I've been looking into the accident. I wanted to get a fully rounded picture of what Harold Armstrong was like.
Well, he was a selfish, no-good rat. That's what he was like.
I take it you and he had a rocky time of it.
It wasn't so bad, except maybe towards the end. Finally, he said we shouldn't see each other anymore. Thought he'd cool off by the morning, but by then he was dead.
He broke off with you the night that he died? I'm just trying to get the picture.
Look, I know what you're thinking, Mr. Jones. But as it happened, Mrs. Armstrong forgot to put my name on the guest list for her party that evening.
Well, it's a big house, and there are a lot of ways to get in, even if somebody wasn't invited.
Are you saying that I killed him?
I'm sorry if I upset you. You mustn't pay too much attention to a detective thinking out loud.
Goodbye, Mr. Jones.
Barnaby? That sure ain't no way to make friends.
Hello, Harley.
Barnaby, I thought you big city detectives got what you wanted out of people with a little more finesse.
Well, Harley, you know how it is some days. You have to shake the shaker a little harder to get the pepper out. How you been?
Not too bad, till I heard that Russ Madden was calling in outside help.
Well, outside doesn't mean better.
I guess you still do have a little bit of that finesse left in you.
Say, do you mind if I have a look at your Harold Armstrong file?
Okay, Barnaby.
Coincidence, isn't it?
What?
Harold Armstrong's first wife, Alice. She died in an accident, too.
Poor Alice. Her parents arranged the marriage. She never did hit it off with Harold. Ended up for Alice out there on the lake.
Never did find her body, did they?
No. Oh, she just took a sailboat out one day and never came back. They dragged the lake for nearly a week, then finally gave it up.
When did Florence arrive on the scene?
Oh, she was always around. A childhood sweetheart, you might say.
So, true love finally triumphed. Florence got her man 4 months after Alice disappeared.
Yeah. Folks around here figured Harold didn't want Laurie growing up without a woman around the house.
But outside the house, he appears to have had another woman who kept him pretty busy.
Nora? No, Nora was nothing. Now, you should have seen the girl he had before Nora. She was an interior decorator. Her name was Maureen Saunders.
She live here in the village?
No, she came from L.A. Came up about, 8 months ago when they were first thinking of redoing the house. Now, Maureen was a looker.
Yeah, there's one thing that puzzles me about the autopsy report. Coroner doesn't explain those cuts in Harold's hand. And nowhere have I been able to find any reference to this cut in the bathroom.
Well, the coroner figured that the cuts were made by the broken pieces of the vase when Harold fell down the stairs. And anyway, Harold died of a broken neck, not by some superficial cuts.
Mind if I keep this for a while?
Well, seeing as you represent the family through Russ Madden, I guess it'd be okay. You have to sign a release form. I'll get you one.
Operator, I'd like to make a collect call to Los Angeles.
Barnaby Jones' office. May I help? Oh, yes, operator. I'll accept the charges. Barnaby, how's all that beautiful, clear air up there?
Why don't you drive up here and take a look for yourself? You could be here in a couple of hours.
Hey, you were the slave driver that said I had to stay home and do the research on the Van Owen case, remember?
Well, to get out of that smog for a little while might do you some good.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Well, since you're coming up,
I knew you had an ulterior motive.
bring my laboratory stuff, and I want you to check into the present whereabouts of an interior decorator named Maureen Saunders.
As long as I'm coming, huh?
Please, Miss Fraser, go away. Don't cause any trouble.
Trouble is what she'll get if she doesn't come up with what Harold promised me.
It's no use. She's not home.
Oh, yes, she is. Mrs. Armstrong, answer me.
How dare you barge in this way? Get out.
Not before I get what's mine.
That's a lie.
He looked back and said, Harold promised me a lot of things, but I got nothing. You made sure of that, all right. But I'm not going to lose the house he promised to buy me.
I don't know anything about any house.
All you have to do is check with the bank. Harold asked for the escrow papers to be drawn up, and he was just about to make a deposit.
I'm afraid there was no mention of it in his will.
Well, maybe not. But then again, there are a lot of things Harold forgot to mention. Like how you killed the first Mrs. Armstrong.
Are you out of your mind?
What's the matter? Afraid Laurie might hear that her stepmother murdered her way into her life?
That's a lie.
Twice a murderer?
Stop it.
Oh, Harold told me all about Alice, all right. How he saw her take the sailboat out on the lake the day she disappeared. A few minutes later, while he was driving over the hill towards home, he looked back and saw someone taking the speedboat from the private pier. A blonde-haired woman dressed in a cream-colored dress. The kind you always wear.
I was nowhere near the lake that day.
Oh, yes, that's what you told Harold, so he didn't tell the police. Because he needed you, he wanted to believe you.
That's enough. You've no way of proving your lies, so get out.
You know, considering Harold's mysterious accident, together with his version of Alice's death, well, it'll be pretty good reading if you force me to give it to the papers. No, I don't have to prove it. Just see that it's printed.
All right. I'll talk to my lawyer first thing in the morning. But I want you to know one thing. I'm not doing it for myself.
For Laurie. How touching.
Once your house is paid for, what assurance do I have that you won't try blackmail again?
You'll just have to trust me, won't you?
I'm sorry it took me so long, Barnaby, but I swear every camper, motorbike, and pogo stick in Los Angeles is on the road this weekend. Oh, boy, but you can't blame them. Beautiful country.
Maybe we ought to come up here more often, take advantage of it.
I don't know. Breathing all this clean air might be habit for me.
Did you find out anything about that interior decorator, Maureen Saunders?
She's missing.
Missing?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got this picture of her from Lieutenant Bill. He said that her mother filed a missing persons report on her 8 months ago.
Harold seems to have had a thing about blondes. Take a look at that, see what you make of it. Think that cut was made by a jagged, broken piece of lace?
Too clean a cut.
Knife, more likely.
Hey, Eddie, don't forget to tell Sylvia I'm taking the early morning shift.
Try another assault on the castle, Mr. Jones?
I have an invitation this time, Mr. Madden.
Inside. Say, would you like another try at growing the Petrella? I can give you a cutting.
That's very thoughtful of you. I may take you up on that before I leave.
Survey stake.
Thinking of enlarging your garden?
That'd be nice. Actually, Mrs. Armstrong was thinking of putting in a swimming pool.
Oh. You're ashamed to lose the garden.
I'm not going to lose it after all. Plans have changed since the accident.
Oh.
You had no right, Russ. The very least you could have done was come to me and ask if I want to have a detective snooping around.
You would have said no.
You're darn right I would have said no.
All right, we're even. Now, if you had asked me about paying a certain debt to Nora Fraser, who nobody seems to know anything about, I would have said no. I mean, she has no claim on the estate.
I don't want to argue about it anymore. I'm the executor of the estate. I want you to see that Nora's house is paid for. Please?
Mr. Jones is here. Barnaby?
Oh, hello, Russ.
This is Florence Armstrong. Barnaby Jones.
How do you do, Mrs. Armstrong?
Russ has told me why you're here, Mr. Jones. I've told him I don't need your help.
Florence, now just listen.
Look, I don't care if people think I'm some kind of Lucretia Borgia. I just want to be left alone.
Well, the truth is, Mrs. Armstrong, that when Russ approached me to look into your husband's accident, I wasn't too keen about the idea. But from what I've learned so far, that accident just could have been made to happen.
What have you learned?
Well, when someone's approaching you with a knife...
A knife?
It's just a theory, but what happens is you're backing away and someone's slashing at you. You may sustain cuts in your hand or maybe even one in the robe you're wearing.
Are you saying someone was trying to attack Harold when he fell down the stairs?
Well, that's one explanation for the cuts.
It's ridiculous. I came from my room only a moment later. There was no one else there.
A moment. 5 seconds? 10 seconds?
I didn't use a stopwatch, Mr. Jones.
Well, let's split the difference. 7 seconds. In that length of time, someone could have easily gotten into one of the bedrooms before you or your guests arrived on the scene.
It couldn't have happened that way. It was an accident.
All Mr. Jones is saying is that it's possible.
It was an accident.
Look, Barnaby, the police made a thorough search of this place. There was no knife found.
In the first place, the police weren't searching for a knife.
And in the second place, if my father was murdered, then the killer wouldn't be stupid enough to leave a murder weapon lying around. Isn't that so, Mr. Jones?
Absolutely correct, Laurie.
Darling, go back inside.
I'm not a child. I have a right to take part in this discussion.
This discussion is over, as far as I'm concerned. Goodbye, Mr. Jones.
Well, you see why people think the way they do? I mean, she acts like she's got something to hide.
How can anything be so beautiful, so ugly at the same time?
You're luckier than most young girls. Do you know that, Laurie?
Am I?
Well, most, when they lose their mother, aren't fortunate enough to find another like Florence to take their place.
Hello, you two. Well, what's on the agenda for today?
For me, it's fishing. Anybody want to come along?
Not me. I don't think I'm quite ready to make my peace with the lake yet.
You catch them and I'll cook them, okay?
Okay. See you later.
Thinking about your mother.
Uh-huh. Also about the way I behaved before, when that detective was at the house.
All's forgiven.
I love you very much, Florence. I just thought you needed some help, that's all.
I didn't think I was doing so badly all by myself. Why did you think I needed help?
Well, you know.
No, I'm not so sure I do know.
The knife.
What knife, Laurie?
The one you hid in back of you on the stairs that night. I certainly hope you got rid of it where no one will ever find it.
a swimming meet. I forgot the school's holding the swimming meet this morning.
Nora Frazier? Yeah, she works here. Bet she missed her work shift this morning. Did you try her house?
Nobody there.
I figures. She probably took off with some dude last night after work. So your station wagon's still here.
Thanks. Keith.
That might be why she had to leave her car here overnight. Dropped them and couldn't find them in the dark.
Should have been able to find them there, even in the dark. Looks like blood.
There's a trail of it.
Woman's shoe print. The heel dug pretty deep.
Could be a heavy woman.
Or a woman carrying something heavy.
Barnaby, there's some tire tracks up here.
Looks like there was a truck in here, a small truck. Had to be four-wheel drive in order to get over that hill.
What do you make of all of it?
Well, woman's footprints with a deep heel, from all the way to here. And then it lightened as if she had dumped her load in the truck and came around here to get in the driver's seat and take off.
Think it was Nora Frazier?
You got a little camera with you?
Yep, right here.
Why don't you start taking some pictures?
What's that?
Tuft of blonde hair.
I look super, don't I? Just like you. I bet if we walked down the street together, nobody could tell us apart.
Oh, Lori. My poor, poor darling.
Thanks a lot.
What's happening? What are all these stakes for?
For the new swimming pool. What else?
Why? Florence told me my garden would be left alone.
Well, I've decided we're going to put the pool in after all.
You've decided.
Oh, Eugene, you always get your way with Florence. From now on, I'm going to have something to say about what goes on around here, too.
We'll see about that.
All right.
right, as soon as I get back to the office, I'll try and contact Nora and tell her that the deed to her house is
Florence,
ready.
do you know how much work I put into that garden, do you?
Yes, yes, Eugene, just a moment. Russ, as soon as you get to the office, will you try to contact Nora?
I just said that.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Russ.
I'll call you.
Florence, you're not really going to let him dig up my garden, are you?
What can I do? Laurie refuses to swim in the lake, and you know how much she loves to swim.
You promised.
All I promised was that we'd try to fit the pool in without disturbing the garden. Now, the contractor says it can't be done. You'll just have to move the garden somewhere else on the grounds. It's not so tragic, is it?
What's tragic is you letting that girl have her way around here all the time. There are other people around here who have rights, too.
Barnaby. Listen, if you're thinking of changing your hairstyle, don't. I rather like it the way it is.
When you were out getting pictures of those tire tracks developed, I thought that I'd like to have a closer look at this hair under the microscope. It's synthetic fiber.
From a wig?
Blonde wig.
Nora Frazier's?
No, that's the reason I went in to talk to the hairdresser. She says that Nora Fraser doesn't possess a wig and never did. She's too proud of her own hair to cover it with a wig.
Oh, do you think there were two women out on that dirt road last night?
It looked that way. How'd you make out with the tire tracks?
Well, the tracks were made by some sort of specialty tire. But the local dealers around here don't handle them. They can only be purchased through a mail order house.
Is there one in town?
We're on our way there. Mr. Jordan? They told me that you're the man to see if someone was interested in buying a set of tires that would make these tracks. Do you recognize them?
Oh, sure. Don't sell too many sets like them, though. They're pretty expensive.
Do you remember selling a set to anyone?
Oh, the Stringer boys got a set when they first come on the market about 3 years ago. That and the set I sold to Harold Armstrong. That's about it.
When did Mr. Armstrong buy his?
About 3 months ago for that four-wheel drive of his.
Do you have a record of the transaction?
If I don't, I'm getting myself a new accountant. Hold on a minute.
Hi, Mom. You know, I've been thinking, with all the dirt and dust the men will stir up digging the swimming pool, why don't we just hop in the car and drive to L.A. for a couple of weeks? Mom? Something the matter?
Tires come from Sweden. Harold was always buying foreign.
Mr. Jordan, on this sales slip, there's another item, a blonde wig, which, according to the notation, was paid for in cash. Now, why didn't Harold Armstrong sign for the wig just as he did for the tires?
Well, first place, that's not Harold's signature. That's not an H, that's an E for Eugene. He signed for the tires. I made the notation about the cash transaction on the wig later on.
Eugene Armstrong, caretaker. They related?
He was Harold's cousin.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jordan.
Pleasure.
Better get the sheriff. I'm going out to the Armstrong place now.
Right. Eugene, you don't want to hurt anyone. Put down that knife.
No.
Eugene, I only want to help you. I'm your friend.
We used to play right here.
Yes, Gene, I remember. We were just children then. We used to play dress up.
Harold wore his father's hat. He played the minister. You wore his daddy's coat.
And you played me. You wore that old white dress.
I now pronounce you man and wife. Florence and Eugene. Eugene and Florence were married.
That was just a game.
No. Eugene loved Florence. Oh, she was so beautiful.
Out there with Eugene. He's got a knife.
Wait for the sheriff.
Harold was so mean to Florence. That's why he had to die.
You killed Harold.
Mm-hmm. Harold was always making Florence cry. So I waited for him in the closet and...
Trying to get away from that knife of yours. He fell down the stairs. Is that why you killed Nora and Maureen? Because they made Florence cry?
Yes. They were cheap. No good.
What about Harold's first wife, Alice? You killed her too, didn't you?
She was mean. She tried to evict Eugene from his cottage. Eugene was part of the family, too.
Where is she, Eugene? In the garden? Is that the reason you don't want anyone to dig it up?
Yes, they're all there. Like the rusty nails. Nobody's gonna dig up my garden. Florence?
Yes, Eugene.
You're gonna be all right now, son. It's all over now.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production. Starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, Mark Shera, with guest stars Robert Reed, Catherine Justice, Anthony Gary, Anne Lockhart. Tonight's episode, Death Beat.
No way. This guy wants to go on camera. That's why he called us. Jim?
Get back!
Okay, man. Okay. This is DeWitt Robinson on the Vincent Thomas Bridge in San Pedro. The man you see on that ledge is Jim Anders. Called us on the KBX hotline. Told us his intentions. Seemed to be reaching out. Like he wanted somebody to stop him. Jim? Jim, we want to help you. I don't know what a reporter can say to you.
Nobody asked you to say anything.
You want us to listen, is that it?
Yeah, why not? Nobody else will.
What's the problem? You have trouble at home? Your wife? Girlfriend? Lose your job? Are you hooked on something?
Let me speak to him. Father Moore. Keep it on. What's your name? What's his name?
Anders, Jim Anders.
Jim, will you give me just a minute?
Look, whatever you're selling, I am not buying it.
There's an answer, Jim. There's always an answer, no matter what's bugging you. There's got to be a better way than this. Come on, talk to me. Hey, Jim, as lousy as it is, there's always something worth talking about. There's got to be somebody who's going to miss you. How about it? You married? Isn't there a girl somewhere? Mother? Father? Who is it, Jim? Who do you care about?
Get him away from me!
Take my hand, Jim. I promise you, there's an answer, one you can buy.
Hold it. Longer. Okay, now hold it one more beat. Now.
I wonder what we had to do with this. I mean, if we hadn't have been there, maybe it wouldn't have happened.
If we don't cover the news, somebody else will. Nobody asked that priest to interfere.
Tell me something, DeWitt. If you stay in this business long enough, do you ever get used to it?
Maybe you have to. What's the running time on that? 3:57.
Robinson's reports, cutting room. Yeah, he's here. DeWitt, it's the hotline. They're putting it through.
Maybe take that timing sheet up to the control room, will you? Yeah, DeWitt Robinson.
It's me, Jim.
Hold on. Steve, is there any coffee around here? Sure. Newsroom, huh? Stuff tastes like it was made by Dr. Jekyll.
Right. It'll do wonders for you.
Jim, you made it? You all right?
How can I be all right? We just killed a man. A priest.
Are you sure? Did you see a body?
I didn't have to see him. Why didn't you stop him?
How was I gonna do that? Hey, Father, don't worry about the guy on the bridge. There's a little manufactured news for the 6 o'clock report.
Well, that would have been a lot better than what happened.
It was an accident.
DeWitt, you can't run that film.
I've gotta run it. If
Everybody knows I've got it. Why wouldn't I run it?
I'll be recognized.
Sure, you'll be recognized. You knew that beforehand. That's why you can't go home. You find yourself someplace to crash at the marina. You shave your lip, and I'll see you at the foot of the South Jetty at 9 in the morning.
You damn well better see me now.
Look, I've got a newscast to do. I've got a press club dinner tonight that I cannot get out of. Now, don't sweat it. I'll take care of everything.
Can you take care of the priest?
Hey, I mean, maybe he's all right. You made it. Maybe he did, too. Jim, trust me. Okay? I'll see you in the morning.
Mr. Jones, come in.
Thank you.
Did you see the police yet?
My associate is down there now.
I hope they tell him more than they told me.
They haven't recovered anyone from the water yet.
But it's been 15 hours, and Jim hasn't been at his apartment since I got into town. I've knocked on his door so many times, the landlady's daughter thinks I'm some kind of a nut. Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm a nervous wreck.
Maybe we better get right over to the TV station. The screen in the projection room is a lot bigger than a television set. You could probably tell for sure whether it was your friend that jumped off the bridge.
I just can't believe he'd do it, Mr. Jones. Especially not after he wrote me about how well he was doing out here.
How did he sign the letter?
All my love.
Well, now, any fella that signs a letter that way isn't thinking about jumping off any bridges.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Ah, we might find out something.
Hi.
Oh, this is my associate, Jedediah Jones. I have to warn you, at the very first opportunity, he'll ask you to call him J.R.
Hi, I'm Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. How are you? They found Father Moore's body outside the harbor entrance, but there's no sign of the other guy, Jim Anders.
Jim Wills. I tried to tell the police that.
Well, they're just going by what he was called on television.
When he called in on the hotline, he used the name Anders. Now, the question is, why would anyone contemplating suicide bother to lie about his name?
That's right. He wouldn't, would he?
Confess to the police, you out of your gourd? That's not gonna bring the priest back.
It'll get him off my head.
Sure. You're gonna mess up 2 other lives, man, yours and mine.
How do you ignore something that you see every time you close your eyes?
Hey, give it a little time. It'll go away. You'll forget about it. Look, I owed you 500. Here's another 500 on top of that. Okay, it's not gonna make you forget, not right away. But a grant's gonna go a long way to getting you back to Columbus, back to, what's her name, Wendy, huh? Wouldn't she rather have you free in Columbus than here in the slammer?
She's not in Columbus.
Wherever.
She's here. Look, I called back home last night. I had to talk to somebody and you weren't available. They said she flew out here. She wanted to surprise me.
Oh, that's some surprise.
Well, she probably went to my place when I didn't show up. Well, there's no telling where she is now.
The worst that happens is she flies back to Ohio.
Not if she saw me on the news last night. What if she thinks I'm dead?
Okay. Okay. I'll find her. Come on, I can do that. I got contacts on the hotline. Only you just keep your problem to yourself. Here, come on.
All right. Find her.
You gonna cool it?
Here's where I'm flopping in Venice, under the name Wilson.
Wait a minute. You gonna cool it?
If you don't take too long.
I don't know what a reporter can say to you. Nobody asked you to say anything.
You want us to listen? Is that it?
Yeah, why not? Nobody else will.
What's the problem? You have trouble at home? Your wife or your girlfriend?
Oh, my God.
You lose your job?
You're absolutely certain that's Jim?
Are you hooked on something?
Yes, it's Jim.
Mustache must be new.
Father Moore.
I could tell it was him just by hearing his voice.
What's your name?
That's all we need, thanks.
Jim Anders.
That'll do it, Fred. Thanks.
None of this makes any sense to me at all. Look. You see, read the part where it says he's been getting some work.
Apparently he figured might lead to some acting jobs on television. Pictures, maybe.
Well, it certainly doesn't sound like a guy with no future and no hope.
No, it certainly doesn't. Thank you, Miss Price.
Listen, there's something else that I think you ought to know about. Jim was on the diving team when he was in college.
Oh? High board or low board?
Tower. He used to even pretend like he was doing a comedy act, you know? He'd pretend like he was falling, and then right at the last minute, he'd cut the water just like a knife.
Then you think the idea of his selecting a high bridge to end it all just doesn't track?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Steve, grab a camera and meet me in the parking lot, quick. I'll explain.
Girlfriend and detective.
We should catch them before they leave the parking lot.
Hold it, Libby, not so fast. Why?
DeWitt, just think. A grief-stricken girlfriend, a dead priest, a fake name. That's the kind of story the network will pick up on.
What fake name?
Anders. The girl ID'd him as Jim Wells. And it gets better. She won't believe that he's dead. He was a high diver in college. Is this a ticket to the big time or what? DeWitt?
Yeah, you go get him, Libby. I'll be there in 2 minutes.
First off, I think you ought to take a ride over to Jim's apartment. Hopefully he had some nosy neighbors who might be able to...
Mr. Jones! Mr. Jones! Oh, I'm so glad we caught you. Miss Milliken, we'd like very much to interview you for tonight's broadcast.
Me?
It's all about Jim, who he really is, how you came out here to be with him, and all about...
Please, I really don't think
I think an interview at this time is a little premature.
Okay, Libby. Got it. This is Wendy Milliken, who came here from Columbus, Ohio, to be with a man named Jim Wills. Miss Milliken, you saw our news broadcast last night, and you recognized the man on that bridge as your fiancé?
Yes. I mean, no. Look, I wasn't sure.
Excuse me, Mr. Robinson, but Miss Milliken's been through an ordeal. I don't think you want to add to her grief, do you?
Who are you, sir?
Barnaby Jones, private investigator, hired by Miss Milliken to find her fiancé.
Mr. Jones, what's happening here is news.
I don't want to interfere with your First Amendment right to gather news, Mr. Robinson, but there is no news here yet.
But of course there is. Miss Milliken, I understand you refuse to believe that Jim's suicide attempt was successful.
Look, it wasn't a suicide. He wouldn't do that.
Look, no interview. Isn't that what you were just told?
He was a high diver, wasn't he?
Listen, I don't think I'm explaining this clear enough. You see, the young lady is worried about someone she loves and doesn't need a microphone stuck in her face.
Okay, Steve, that ought to give us enough for broadcast.
That's just about all you care about, isn't it?
Hey, Libby, you're on the ball, kid. This one ought to give us enough to milk for days if we play our cards right.
Barnaby, do you remember Cloris LaRue?
You mean the stripper with the snakes? Only what I read in the newspaper.
She used to live here.
How do you know?
I dated an actress here once.
Singers, actors, dancers, okay. But snakes, no way.
So you mean you just kicked Cloris out?
Not me, my mother, the manager.
When's the last time you saw Jim?
I haven't seen him since yesterday morning. But so what? I've stood up before.
You had a date with him?
Last night, he was supposed to take me to Le Chevalier.
Fancy schmancy. That's $70 a throw, isn't it?
It was to thank me, he said. I toss him a little salad and spaghetti when he has the shorts, you know. He's so grateful.
Struggling young actor, lands part in pictures, is that it?
He's more into stunts, I think. He's very athletic.
When did he give up acting?
When his acting teacher recommended it.
You know who that teacher was?
Let's see. Archer, Archette, silent T. French.
A-R-C-H-E-T, Arche. All right, I'll get right on it. Barnaby, are you planning to go into the theater?
I will if it's necessary to find out about Jim Wills.
Oh, Barnaby, Wendy called. It seems DeWitt Robinson phoned her, wanted to finish out that interview. She tried to say no, but
How long ago was that?
just a few minutes. Listen, I'd really like to know how he found out where she was.
He impresses me as the kind of a fellow who would find a potato bug in a bean barrel if he thought there was a story in it. I think Wendy needs us.
Wendy, what about the letter he sent you?
Oh, he said he had some work.
Why do you think he told us the exact opposite?
I don't know.
What kind of work?
He didn't say.
Wendy, if he did survive, as you believe, why do you think he hasn't come forward?
Well, maybe he's hurt or dazed or something.
Or hiding?
Why would he do that?
Afraid, maybe. Thinking he was responsible for the death of Father Moore?
But the priest grabbed him. How could that be Jim's fault?
That would depend on exactly why he was threatening to jump in the first place. You insist that he wasn't suicidal. Why then? Was it a publicity stunt?
Well, Barnaby?
This would be Barnaby Jones again, private investigator.
Are these folks invited guests?
No.
Then why don't we invite them out?
She opened the door for us.
It's still open. Why don't you use it?
What kind of camera is this anyway? This is a zoom lens, right? Come on, these are really difficult.
All right, Steve, Libby, that's it. Well, off the record, do you think he's still alive?
Off the record, no, but we're going to find out.
If you do, will you give me an exclusive?
Well, I've got one. How about an overly ambitious news hog who gets a trespassing rap laid on him if he ever pulls a stunt like this again?
Miss Milliken, you refuse to believe that Jim's suicide attempt was successful, is that right?
Look, it wasn't a suicide. He wouldn't do that.
No interview. Isn't that what you were just told? No
All right, cut it
interview.
there. Take him out completely, and Jones, too. And that new stuff, when it comes back from the lab, cut around both of them.
It's super footage, DeWitt. Too good for the locals.
Hey, wouldn't it be a trip if he was alive? He sees his girl on TV all choked up over him. Phew, that'd sure smoke him out of the woodwork.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, you go ahead and make the cuts. Be right back.
I hope he does it. Sees the broadcast, turns himself in. You think he'd get a year or two? 'Cause, I mean, that Wendy's a nice girl.
And you're romantic.
Yeah, this is Wilson. Where the hell have you been?
Locating your girlfriend, as promised.
You found Wendy?
I will have. By 6 o'clock tonight.
6 tonight?
6:30 at the latest. It's a sure thing.
Okay. Just call me right away.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to answer the phone a lot quicker than you did this time. Where were you?
Oh, I'm on the 3rd floor. The only phone is in the lobby.
It'll probably be while we're on the air with the news. I can only be on the phone for a few seconds at a time.
So I'll stand by the phone.
Well, look, between 6 and 6:30. Don't get impatient. You stay in the lobby and close to the phone, okay?
Right.
Now, you students certainly know what a rose is. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Listen, darling, please. Now, try to think of yourself as a beautiful, pink, fully opened blossom, not a bloomin' ragweed. Oh, well, I'm sorry, darling. Perhaps we should think of some other little flower. How about a nice, bright little yellow daisy? Would you like that? Marvelous. Over there, darling.
Mr. Arche?
Well, well, my dear sir, I'm not often privileged to hear my name properly pronounced. As a mark of my appreciation, I'm waiving the usual charge of admission.
Thank you. We appreciate that. My name is Barnaby Jones. This is my associate, Jedediah Jones.
Jedediah. Well, it's certainly a pleasure to meet you. And I can certainly use a young man of your talent. Jedediah. It's rather hard to keep young leading men, you know.
Like Jim Wills. I'd like to ask you a few questions about him.
Private investigator, eh? Well, I'll tell you anything except that he was a good actor.
Is that why you advised him to go into stunt work?
Oh, come now, Mr. Jones. It seems to me you've already done some investigation.
Some?
Well, Jim is very physical, of course, but you don't just go into stunt work.
You mean jobs like that are hard to find?
Well, he mentioned recently someone who was very good at opening doors.
Any idea who that may have been?
I had the impression it was a television person, someone of rather substantial influence. No, no, darling, a bright little yellow daisy. Excuse me, sir. She's the girlfriend of one of my backers. Now, darling, it's simply a matter of concentration.
Now, Barnaby, what television person named DeWitt Robinson do we know in this case?
Maybe we just don't know him well enough.
Ah, shucks. And just when I was beginning to like not seeing him.
But Jedediah, sometimes you have to wade through the hog wallow to get to the melon.
Well, I'll put on my high boots. Hello. Yeah.
Hotel Brody, room 843, 9 o'clock tonight. Got it?
8:43, 9 o'clock. I'll be there.
Out here.
Where's Wendy?
She's not here.
You promised me that she'd be here.
Oh, that's before I found out Wendy hired a private detective to find you, man.
I should have known better.
It's a temporary delay. It's temporary. And I'm telling you, that private detective is digging in pretty good. You got to get your story straight.
My story?
All right, we're both on the hook. Here. Take a look at that. That's $4,000. I want you to play one last scene in front of my camera.
What kind of scene?
I want you to play the same scene you were supposed to play before. Only this time you tell him it was a performance on that bridge, see? Father Moore believed it. All right, now you've got such a case of the gilts. This time, you're gonna do it for real. Without any water to land in.
Just tell me where Wendy is, man.
Oh, look, this time I talk you out of it.
I'll find her myself.
Wait, but look, they'll understand. All you're gonna get's probation.
Get out of my way!
It's too late. It was all on the air. Everything tonight.
What was on the air?
Your real name, interviews with Wendy, everything. Except the deal with me. Now look, Jim, it's all set up. We can do it this time.
No. Get out of my way! I want to
Five 6219. Libby Price. Libby, I just heard from Jim Wills. He's at the Hotel Brody in the roof garden. Says he's going to try it again. Yeah.
#1 in the news market. That's where DeWitt Robinson's hotline put us. Sorry, it's the only chance I'll get. Sure you fellas won't join me.
No, thank you.
Mr. Monahan, how long has the hotline been in existence?
Oh, let's see, at least 5, maybe 6 months since DeWitt talked us into it. $50 cash for any news tip we use on the air. A regular viewer would know that.
Guess you found me out.
That made him into kind of a hero, didn't it?
Saved his job for him. And may get him a spot on a national show out of New York.
Mr. Robinson's stories all been on the sensational side, have they?
Yes, they have been lately, starting with the terrorists who blew up the abandoned power facility.
Oh, yeah, I remember that about a month and a half ago, right?
The hotline didn't pay off during the first few months, did it?
Right. Caught on just before option time.
Mr. Monahan, I wonder if you could supply us with a list of the stories that Mr. Robinson's hotline generated, along with the dates.
Well, I think I'd have to know why, Mr. Jones.
Kind of like to see how they stack up against the activities of the young man that went off the roof garden last night.
Jim Wills? You know what you're suggesting, manufactured news. That's a very serious accusation.
That's why we have to be sure before we make it. Kind of figured that you'd want to know one way or the other, too.
I'm very grateful to you, Betty. I really needed somebody, and you were there. Thank you.
Listen, if you'd like me to stick around for a while, I'd be more than happy to.
It's okay, thanks anyway, but I am really whipped.
Well, you have my number.
Yeah. Oh, Betty, why did this happen? I just don't understand any of this. I've got a whole life to replan, you know? And I just can't seem to do any of it until I find out what it was that happened.
Wendy, I'll make you this promise. Barnaby will never stop until all of this is explained.
Okay.
It's gonna be fine.
Wendy, Jim asked me to talk to you.
Jim?
Jim Wills was obviously very disturbed on that roof. He asked me to tell Wendy how desperately sorry he was.
But he kept saying, if it hadn't been a priest, if it hadn't been a priest. Was Jim a religious man?
He respected life.
Yes, he respected life. That's why Jim Wills was so tortured a man.
And that's why he didn't commit suicide. He did not commit suicide. Do you hear me? He didn't have it in him. I don't care what you say. He didn't.
I was there. I tried to stop Jim Wills on that roof.
I can hear you trying to stop him. Don't jump, Jim. Don't jump. Not until you've told us your whole sad story. Oh, and turn your head this way a little bit so we can get your good side on the camera.
We can all understand
Well,
the
why don't you
sunshine
just
strip.
get out of here?
Why don't you put that one on the air, huh, Robinson?
Kill it.
Libby, I dropped by your station to see you. They said you were here.
You were right. I thought you came here to rescue me.
Well, I did, but you didn't look like you needed it.
Did you see the anchor man?
Monahan, yeah, I think we're on the right track. And I blew my little intimate interview with Libby the way I just came in here just now.
Oh, I kind of liked it myself.
Did you forget something?
To apologize. Sometimes DeWitt gets carried away. I'm really sorry for everything.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Jones, I thought you'd be finished asking questions about Jim. Now that now that he's not missing anymore.
I'm going to keep asking questions, Margie, until they're all answered, especially about his work.
His stunt jobs?
I not only want to know the nature of the job, but when he did it. Now, I compiled a list here in hopes it'll jog your memory.
Explosion, fire, robbery. Such dangerous work. Makes you wonder why.
Did he ever mention anything about a fire? About the 3rd of last month?
My memory. Can I tell you about my memory? The worst. Lucky we don't have to rely on it. I keep a journal.
A diary?
No, a journal. You know, my thoughts, feelings, character sketches. Whenever I meet somebody interesting. You're in it.
You want to be a writer, is that it?
John Boy started with a journal, didn't he? Here's what I have for the 3rd.
The 3rd wasn't exactly what you call one of your banner days.
Shall we move along to the 4th?
Oh. Jim knocked on the door. It was 2 in the morning. He asked if there was any salve in the house. There was a burn on his hand.
Will Wendy be heading back to Ohio right away, do you think?
I don't know. She didn't say. Were you ever around when Robinson took one of his hotline calls?
Not lately. Do you think she'll talk to me? I mean, woman to woman. Wendy. Say, who's the reporter around here anyway? You keep answering my questions with questions. Why are you so interested in DeWitt?
It's my week for collecting jerks.
Is that what you want me to say? That he's a jerk? All right, he's a jerk.
Present company accepted, I hope.
Mr. Jones.
Sorry, but I have to borrow your friend. Something came up on the Wills case. I have a job for you.
Is that urgent?
I think so.
What can I say?
Yeah, we both have a lot in common. We're both slaves to our work.
Let me get this straight now. You say your name is Marjorie Hall and you're a neighbor of Jim Wills. Oh, I see. You're the landlady's daughter. You say he left you a letter? Confession? Confession to what? What happened on the bridge? I see. Well, yes, I'd like very much to look at the letter. I figured there'd be a price. What kind of money are you talking about?
I don't know. How's about $1 million?
Well, that's pretty steep. Take me a little while to raise that kind of money.
No kidding. You could have fooled me.
Well, I'll try. But in the meantime, don't sell the letter to anyone else.
Libby, get me DeWitt quick. Oh, well, look, when he gets back, just to tie him down, lock him in his office, anything. I've got to see him.
Hey, Bobby, who's got more money than the network, huh? That's right, nobody. Yeah, so squeeze him a little. Yeah, but don't blow the deal, okay? Yeah, right.
DeWitt. Oh, I'm glad I caught you.
Hey, Libby, just in time, grab a glass and I'll give you one guess.
DeWitt, New York's come through with an offer.
My agent's negotiating the deal. Cheers, babe. Johnny said you had something hot. What is it?
Yep. Jim Wills left a letter. It's a confession of some sort about what happened on the bridge.
Left it where?
With his landlady's daughter, Margie Hall. I don't know what it's about, DeWitt, but it sounded pretty important, and it has to be something that you can use tonight when you wrap that story.
Yeah. Well, you did the right thing, babe. Really on the ball. Yeah. I'll handle it, okay?
Well, don't you want to know how I found out? DeWitt?
Right. Hold your horses. Oh.
Margie Hall?
You win first prize. Who wants to know?
DeWitt Robinson.
Well, been reading an awful lot about you lately.
All right, if you're talking about the letter, let's get at it.
Letter? What letter?
If you don't know, baby, forget about it.
Come on. Come on. Word do get around on it. Are you making an offer?
I might be interested.
Could be worth a lot.
Depends on what's in it.
Judge for yourself. That's a copy, of course. I made it down in my local friendly neighborhood drugstore. Girl can't be too careful in matters like this, huh? Did he spell your name right, honey?
The man was in the wrong business. He should have been a comedy writer.
What are you saying? This is a fiction?
Of the bad pulp variety.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like a confession to me. I mean, at this late date, why should the guy lie, huh? I figure the police are gonna think that.
A man in my position is always vulnerable to this kind of slander. And I find it less damaging in the long run to pay off than to fight back. You understand that?
Seems like a reasonable attitude.
Yes. And how much is reasonable? And how fast do you think you want it?
Barnaby.
He went for the bait.
Betty did okay?
Yeah, even though Marge wasn't crazy about the impersonation, she got the job done.
Where is the payoff gonna be?
By the monkey cages at the old zoo.
I think I know where that is. What time?
This afternoon, 4 o'clock.
All right. Will you get things going? Okay, good enough. Talk to you later.
Rotten business, isn't it?
Yours or mine?
Both. You set me up, and I set him up. It's just that I could have stopped him, but I didn't.
And you shouldn't have. Livy, look. The fraud that Robinson perpetrated on the public is nothing compared to the crime he committed against the name of every TV newsman in the business, including you. I mean, he's responsible for the death of Father Moore, if not Jim Wells.
How did you know that I wasn't in on it?
Well, you would have been at Margie's place waiting for him. If you thought you had equal billing in that letter. Come on, we better go.
We?
Well, you don't want another station to get a scoop on your own story, do you? You're a reporter, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And that's the final Robinson report on the short life and tragic death of Jim Wills. In fact, the final Robinson report you'll be seeing locally on this station. Beginning Monday, we'll be seen a half an hour later on the network news originating from New York. This is DeWitt Robinson, and that's a wrap. Well, thank you, Charlie, for letting me tape in advance. I had to stick around and do that live. Never made the plane.
No problem, DeWitt. I'm just sorry this will be your last show here. We're going to miss Robinson's report, not to mention the ratings on our 6 o'clock news.
Yeah, well, you'll come up with something.
Well, good luck in New York, DeWitt.
Thanks, Charlie.
Over here.
Stupid place to meet. Why'd you pick it?
I watch a lot of television.
Come on, let's get it over with. And I want the original.
So do I. If you get my meaning.
All right. That's it. We're through. You understand that, Miss Hall. Finished.
Yes, I do believe that is the word for it, Mr. Robinson. Finished.
Robin! Don't try it, Robin. Don't try, Robinson. Robin! You're under arrest, Robinson. Suspicion of murder.
By exchanging the money for what he believed to be an incriminating letter, TV news personality DeWitt Robinson has verified his part in the planning and execution of fraudulent stories.
You're still on the ball, aren't you, Libby? Oh, I taught you pretty good, huh?
You were wrong about one thing. I don't think I'll ever get used to it.
Oh, sure. For old time's sake?
Lieutenant.
All right. What am I gonna say? You want me to tell you that the news at 6 o'clock isn't real? Oh, hell, it's real enough.
We just dramatize it a little for you, that's all. That's all. We don't want you to tune us off. We edit, we select. We go out on a bridge when somebody's gonna jump, because you want to see it. Nobody wanted that priest to die. Jim Wills agonized over it more than I did. That's why we were dancing around on the roof garden of that hotel, but I don't have to tell you that. You were there. You saw it. Living color. Last night, you saw it. You make up your own moral. Because I'm tired. It's DeWitt Robinson. And that's a wrap.
Well, we know that wasn't a fake.
But I'm afraid that Jim's feeling for me was.
Not according to our friend Margie. Oh, he liked her, all right, but she said that his mind was always on you.
He knew I was in town. Why didn't he try to find me?
Because DeWitt kept him from it. His biggest concern was for you, Wendy. All he wanted was to take his lumps for the accidental death of the priest, find you, and start over.
Are you really sure about that?
I just talked to DeWitt. That's why I stopped by here. Thought you'd like to know.
Oh, I did want to know that. Thank you, Libby. I guess I can go home now, Mr. Jones. I think I'm going to be all right.
I never doubted it for a moment.
Aw.
Well, wouldn't you know it? I forgot to ask my cab to wait.
Well, now, I think I just happen to be going in your direction.
What direction is that, Jedediah?
South, west, north, whatever.